How could you be so?
All right, back on the Young Turks. Now let's discuss a little green energy and transportation. We're going to talk to Jack Hidary. He's the head of the Hidary Group and the chairman of SmartTransportation.org, which is a nonprofit dedicated to promoting clean energy and transportation policy in the U.S. Jack, welcome to the Young Turks.
Hello, how are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Great.
I understand that you put together a proposal for Cash for Clunkers that you presented to the Clinton Initiative last year. Is that right? Am I getting that right or wrong?
That's correct. I was working on a number of transportation initiatives, and my team and I realized that what we needed to do is create a program that would both help the auto industry, help the economy, but also help consumers get into more efficient cars. And we looked back in history and looked all over the place, all over the world, and found that these Cash for Clunkers types programs really could work. And so we put together a program that could work in this economy at this time and made the proposal at CGI '08, Clinton Global Initiative, in 2008, over a year ago.
Mm-hmm. And I'm curious as to see how that works, right? So you do that proposal. Obviously, other countries have done it in the past and have had some success with it. I understand that Van Jones had written something on it a while back. He called it hoopties for hybrids. So this thing is percolating. Who picks up the ball and runs with it? How does it actually get done?
Well, what happened was I had been speaking about it in Washington even before that, but CGI really catalyzed it in that after I made that proposal, in the room you had auto companies, you had policymakers, and suddenly a coalition formed, in particular SmartTransportation.org, my organization, CAP, Center for American Progress, headed up by John Podesta, and ACEEE.org. So the three organizations banded together, wrote a number of key papers that were circulated around Washington, and then we went down to Washington and gave literally hundreds of speeches all over the place to policymakers to explain, hey, this could be a really great idea.
And in the end, who is the White House official who brings it to the president for him to say, all right, yeah, let's try this plan?
Well, I think by that time we probably spoke to I don't know how many officials. So, it probably went through multiple channels at that point because we spoke to so many people during the transition and when they came into the White House, and we spoke to so many people, across Washington D.C. We also, spoke to lots of other influencers around the country, key people who could really make this happen. So it was no one person; it was really a great coalition of people.
Now, Jack, the Republicans will say, oh, well, why don't you just do this for everybody then? Oh, it's a great Democratic giveaway, Cash for Clunkers for toasters and for microwaves, etc. Why, in your estimation, does that argument not make sense?
Well, the specific things around transportation, first of all, we had the crisis around the auto sector. And, you can argue that many companies around the country were hurting, but certainly the auto sector. I don't mean just the big three, all the U.S. auto workers. I'm including those who work in Tennessee and Alabama and California and New Mexico and other places for companies like Toyota and Honda. Those are U.S. auto workers as well. They work right here in this country. And all the U.S. auto workers were hurting, so we needed to do something there. We also needed to absolutely address our dependence on oil. President Obama has spoken about this. President Bush spoke about this. This is a bipartisan issue, not a Democrat or Republican issue. And if you want to get serious about oil, you got to get serious about getting to efficient cars. So this was a win-win-win, win for the oil issue, win for the auto sector, and win for the consumer who could finally get rid of the clunker and get into a car that costs less to maintain.
Jack, I'm going to ask you a question I don't know if you know the answer to. What percentage of the oil that we consume here in the U.S. Is from cars, and what percentage is non-cars?
I know the exact numbers. I live with this every day. Let me give you just a quick picture. The whole world consumes 83 million barrels of oil a day, 83 million. This country, United States, with 4% of the population, consumes 19 million, about a quarter of the world usage. Of the 19.5 million that we use, half, or 9.5 million barrels of oil a day, is for motor fuel. So half the oil of our country is for motor fuel, majority of that being cars and SUVs, and a little bit of buses in there and trucks.
Another interesting fact that I actually saw on your website is what percentage of our trade deficit is made up of oil? I didn't know this at all.
Well, yeah, this is an economic issue. Some people, want to focus on these issues for climate change and other issues, and that's great, and I support that. But let me tell you, whether you want to focus on those issues, the fact is economically we've got to act on oil. It's 50% of our trade deficit. $350 billion. That's half of the $700 billion of our trade deficit is importing oil. I don't think that makes sense. That's not a Democrat issue. That's not a Republican issue. It's an American issue.
Well, Jack, let's keep it real. It's a Democrat and Republican issue because the Republicans get paid by big oil. So they don't give a damn trade deficit, whatever. Who's signing their checks? So you're never going to get them on your side.
Well, no, I don't really agree with that. First of all, a lot of Republicans care a lot about John McCain. Cared a lot about this issue as he was running.
Is he going to vote for cap and trade?
Cap and trade is one issue. Right now, I'm talking about importing oil.
How about cash for clunkers? Is he going to vote for that?
He did vote for it.
Oh, he did. All right. Look, you got me on that. Okay, excellent. So you think McCain is motivated on this, and in this case, cash for clunkers, he voted for it. How many other Republicans voted for it? I don't know. That's why I'm curious.
It was part of a larger package, so it's really hard to tease it out because actually cash for clunkers got attached to another big package. So a lot of people voted for it. Whether they agree with the particular way cash for clunkers was done, I can't speak for them. What I can tell you is that we had a lot of Republicans and a lot of Democrats who said, you know what, we need to get off oil. And so I think it's a great win. And the other thing is, in terms of U.S. auto workers, in terms of the consumers, we benefited tremendous numbers of people. So I think it's clear that the program worked. Is it a program that can continue forever? No, it can't. But there are other programs such as fee-bates, just introduced by Jeff Bingaman in the Senate, chairman of the Energy Committee, that I think can have a longer life than even cash for clunkers. And that's a new thing that we can hopefully see this coming fall.
So let me ask you, now that we're on that topic, because I brought us there, but what do you think about cap and trade? Do you think it's a good idea?
You got to have a price on carbon. You've got to have some price on carbon. Price signals work. Why did cash for clunkers work? Because we had a price signal. Because we told people, come in, bring your clunker. We'll give you $3,500 to $4,500, and we're going to make a deal. Now, the same thing on carbon. You've got to have some kind of price on carbon, or you're not going to be able to reduce the stuff. And that's just plain fact. Most people agree with that. Now, what people don't agree on is how to make that price on carbon. Some people say cap and trade. Some people say other schemes. Different people are arguing for different things. To be honest with you, I don't really care. I just want a price on carbon.
Now, it looks like it's going to get murdered in the Senate. So is there any hope for that proposal or for any proposal that puts a price on carbon?
I think what we're going to find in the Senate is that there's a whole range of different proposals. First of all, you have what's called an RES, Renewable Electricity Standard. And the fact is, if we pass a RES, as you know, 29 states in our country already have a standard, an RPS, Renewable Portfolio Standard. As you know, Schwarzenegger just signed one for 33% by 2020. That's basically a legal goal that says that the electricity in that state has to have a minimum of, say, 33% renewable components by time you reach that year. And the Senate and the House, I think, can agree on a standard for the country. They're also talking about building codes, that is, new kinds of building codes that means that our homes and our buildings will be more efficient. And so whether or not we get to a full price on carbon in the next few months, if we just pass that right away, that would be a huge, huge win, and that would begin to reduce carbon emissions. Then we can get to a price on carbon in the near future as well.
All right. Finally, just out of curiosity, you're a businessman. How did you wind up getting involved in this? And does it?
That's exactly right. I'm an entrepreneur. I love startups. I love doing business. It's what I do every day. But the fact is, these issues are just screaming. They're just too blatant to ignore. And while I love doing business, I've carved out time now, some of my time, to focus on these issues. And if I can bring a business background, some spreadsheet analysis to, analyzing how cash for clunkers worked and showing how it could increase efficiency, then so be it. I can use those skills. I can use my team skills to do that. I think hopefully more business people will get involved. We shouldn't leave policy just to folks who work in the Beltway. We can all get engaged with it. If you have some time as a business person, as a accountant, as a lawyer, as whatever job you have, as a private citizen, you can have a voice. I don't think we have to leave it just to quote the professionals.
All right, Jack Hidary, thank you so much for joining us. And the website for everybody is, at least for the nonprofit, is smarttransportation.org. Thank you so much.
That's correct. Thank you.